Hello everyone, and welcome to another video in the finals. The background gameplay for this one just going to be some TDM. It's just a long one. I think this game actually goes the distance. I think it's actually a 3-round TDM, so pretty decent round to watch. So that's the background gameplay for this one. But we're not really going to be talking about TDM in this one. So I already recorded a video. It's going to be more ranked discussion. I already recorded a video on the scoreboard change. I don't know if that video is going up before this one or not. So, you know, if this video comes out and you don't see that scoreboard one, expect that one soon. Not really sure which order I'll do. But I already recorded a video on that, and I already talked about the scoreboard change and my problems with it and all that stuff. And in this video, I want to talk about what I think is actually like the biggest problem, or my biggest problem rather, with ranked right now, and like what I would like to see changed to address it. And I'm going to try to, you know, go over this topic the best that I can. But there's a lot of different factors to it. So I'll probably miss some stuff. You know, definitely, as always, like, feel free to discuss in the comments. I'll probably miss some stuff. But I'll try to go over it the best that I can. Okay, so I've been getting into ranked, getting back into ranked a lot in the past few weeks. So like the end of last season and now the beginning of this season. And I have found very quickly that I do have fun in general. Like, I do have fun more often than not, I would say, with ranked. But it can also be really frustrating. And I think that there's like a main reason behind that frustration. And I think that it's something that is like legitimately a problem with the game and should probably could probably use some changes, because I don't think that the game is necessarily like in the best, most competitive state for a ranked playlist right now, if that makes sense. With the current in-game cash out rules, I don't think that the two teams that qualify to the next round are, like, most of the time the two teams that deserve to go to the next round, right? That's my big problem with ranked, my big problem with the finals cash out ranked right now, is that, again, I think that I'd probably say more often than not, the two teams that go to the next round or that go to the final, whatever, are not the two teams that deserve to go to that next round. So what I mean by that is essentially I'm talking about the late game, the very common, you know, end game state with the last two boxes getting doubled, and then whatever team is the second place team, it becoming a 3v9 for that team, because the first place team is fighting to get them out. They'd rather have one of the bottom teams. They'll probably be easier in the final. And then obviously you've got the two bottom teams. The two bottom teams are obviously going to fight the second place team as well. And if they're smart, try to, you know, ignore the first place team a little bit. So just like very quickly becomes like a 3v9 for the second place team. And these like chaotic endgame states are so frustrating, and so, I'll say it, random. And I think that the team that ends up, you know, often benefiting from this and getting through does not really deserve a qualification. Like, I think that team, it's essentially like the first place team qualing twice is how a lot of these end game states playing out. I know that sounds weird, but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the first place team does most of the work, and then they kind of just like let another team through. And I am getting like really frustrated with that. And I don't really think that we're getting like the best experience possible out of this game, like competitively, with that being such a common end game occurrence, such a common end game state. So I want to dial it back a little bit. I don't think that like the late game comeback should not be a thing, right? Like, you don't want the end games to be boring. You don't want every end game to just feel unreachable. Two teams just dominate the whole game and they always just get through, right? I get that. You don't want that to always be the case. You don't want that to more often than not be the case. So I get that. But I do think that if two teams both like dominate the whole freaking game, they should probably more often than not just go through to the next round. Unless it's earned. Like, I think that late game double and steal for one of those bottom teams to get through, I think that needs to be more earned than it is right now. I think it's too easy. To get the game to that state, to get the two boxes doubled and to, you know, get one of the lower teams in control of that, because all they have to do is get the first plug to have control of it, which isn't the hardest thing to do. And then, once it gets doubled, a lot of the times the whole damn lobby will be fighting over it. It's damn near impossible to get a steal past that point, right? So, like, once they get that initial plug, they're a lot of the time good to go. And I just don't think that's very fair, especially when, like, the differences between the first and second place team can often be kind of random, honestly. Like, you don't really have control over whether teams fight you or not throughout the course of the game, and that could, have you wind up with, like, less money. You don't have a ton of control over the vault spawns, and that extra, like, 1k that you get from each tap on the vault spawn, like, that matters a lot. Those early plugs matter a lot. And depending on the spawns that you get, and especially on maps like Kyoto, like, there's only so much you can do to control that, and that can end up mattering a ton. So, like, these small differences that end up, playing a big role in who qualifies or not, I think that they're often, like, kind of random. I think that it's often, like, kind of random, a couple kills here or there. Again, like, the taps, the spawn, all that shit. Like, I think it's often stuff that's not in your control that'll make, like, that slight difference in the lead. And here's the thing, right? It's those little things that I feel like are a little RNG, and, like, yes, they seem minute, but they're not. They're not, because if you're in second, it makes a huge difference, right? If you're in second, you're losing, right? If you're in second with, like, 2 minutes to go in the game, the way that I look at it right now is not, oh, we have an advantage, let's hold it. The way I look at it genuinely is, like, we are still losing the game. That is how I look at it. I do not think that's how it should be. I do not think that's how it should be. Now, again, don't think you should just automatically, again, I don't think it should be boring at the end, but I think it should just be a little more earned to, have those comebacks. So let's get to the point. Like, what needs to happen for it to be more earned, right? Like, what do I mean by that? Like, what needs to change for that state, that end game, like, double state to happen, like, a little less often, but feel a little more earned when it does happen? What needs to change? I honestly think a few things could change. I'm going to present some of these ideas in the video, but I'm not going to say that, like, all these things need to change, but these are just a bunch of ideas that I have, and I think all of them could contribute. Honestly, the wipe penalty. I think the wipe penalty needs to be increased again. So if you did not play during Season 1 or Season 2, you would not remember this, but the wipe penalty in Season 1 and Season 2 was massive. It was 30%, and it is now, I believe it's 15 now, so it's literally half that. The wipe penalty is not big enough right now. I think it needs to go up to 20 or maybe even 25%. I think it needs to go up higher. Now, you might be thinking, like, okay, well, what does the wipe penalty have to do with, helping out these situations that I'm talking about? What does it have to do with that? Honestly, a lot. I think that the wipe penalty would actually benefit the gameplay throughout the game and not just the end game. As a whole, I think upping the wipe penalty would actually just improve the entirety of the game. Now, why do I think that? I think that because the gameplay, when the wipe penalty was a lot larger, the gameplay was a lot more tactical. The gameplay was a lot less just run it down, fucking full send, chow, go in. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like ever since this, like, plug meta change, and yes, they've done some adjustments to it, it's gotten a little bit better, but it's still, like, relatively plug meta-ish. Like, it still feels like plug meta to me for the most part. Ever since they've made this shift, I feel like the game has gotten a lot dumber. I feel like cash out has gotten a lot dumber. I feel like a lot of the tactics out of cash out has been removed, and I feel like it's just been very, very no brain, just full send, full push, get every plug that you can, get every kill that you can, third party. If you get wiped, you barely lose any money, you don't give a fuck, who cares? I just feel like it's gotten extremely, for lack of a better term, it's gotten extremely brain dead. Tell you the truth. That's how I feel like the game, that's the direction that I feel like the game has moved in. When there was a bigger wipe penalty, I feel like the game is a little more tactical. I feel like there was a lot more thought throughout the game, but especially in those late game situations. I'm going to blow your mind if you didn't play this game for season or during Season 1 or Season 2. A lot of end games in Season 1 or Season 2 genuinely would end with both 5 and 6 boxes being held out and not plugged at all. I know that's probably mind-blowing if you're a newer player, but seriously, I swear, a lot. I'm not saying it happened all the time. I'm not saying it was the most frequent, although it was pretty frequent. But it would happen a lot. That type of situation would happen a lot. Or only like one of them would get plugged and the other one would get held out. Those types of situations would happen very, very frequently in Season 1 and Season 2. And what I found with that is that, well, one, the endgame state, there's more variety, right? I feel like the endgame state now, it's like always, 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 always doubled. There would be a lot of variety. Sometimes you would still get that late game double. Even in that old meta, it would still happen. Sometimes both boxes would get held out. Sometimes, one would get held out. Sometimes they'd both get plugged separately. You'd have all these different endgame states. And they would happen at like a fairly even rate, in my experience. Whereas again, now, technically, all those endgame states are still possible, but realistically, again, it gets doubled, I swear, like 70, 80% of the time. So there's just not nearly as much variety, and, when it gets doubled, it's just full chaos. The game just becomes an absolute clusterfuck, and that type of gameplay is just not as enjoyable to me, especially when it's so frequent. So, again, if you bring that bigger wipe penalty, I think that it'll improve the endgame state. I think there'll be more variety in the endgame states. I think it'll be more tactical. I think that the teams that deserve to go through will go through more often, but if one of those bottom teams clutches up, gets a big wipe at the end, they will still have a good shot at being able to secure a qual at the end. And I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair. And I think that's how it would be with this, bigger wipe penalty being reintroduced. So that's the big thing that I want to see. The other thing is an adjustment to doubling. And I've heard some good ideas with this. I'm going to present two that I've heard that I think are pretty good. One of them is to have like the terminal attack, like plant animation when you double the money. So like the first plug will still be like the normal. You can just toss it in, toss that shit in, money goes in, cash box activate, you know what I mean? Whatever. But if you want to double the point, and this should apply not just to the final one, but to just all doubles at any point in the game when you want to double it, you have to get up on that cash box, and you have to play out like the terminal attack, like planting the key. I was gonna say the bomb, but you know what I mean. Animation. I think that's a great idea. I really like that idea, and I think that idea is fantastic. And I think that would make it feel a lot more earned, right? It'd be a lot harder for those doubles to occur, and it would be a lot less frustrating. I feel like it'd be a lot more preventable, and I think that would be a lot better for the gameplay. The other idea, this is one that I've thought of for a long time that I like, is in overtime, right? So in overtime, if you have the two different cash outs, if one of them hasn't had money plugged in it by the time overtime hits, it disappears. I think that should go to the vault that has not been plugged as well. I think the vault that has not been plugged at the time of overtime, I think that when overtime hits, that money, even if a player is carrying it, I don't care. Even if a player is carrying it, it should just disappear. It should just disappear. It should just be out of the game. So you have until overtime hits to get those plugs and to get that double to occur. If you cannot pull it off by the time overtime hits, that is taken out of the equation. I think that would also do a lot, and I think that would also help out these endgame states a lot. All right, so we're getting to the end of this gameplay here, the end of this last TDM round. I tried to cover everything the best that I could. I tried to go over a lot. I'm sure I still missed some factors, but I feel like I explained my reasoning and my perspective on it pretty well. Again, I'm not saying like the top two teams. Like you're allowed to have a bad game, right? You're allowed to be what should be like a top two team and have a bad game, and another lower team can have a good game and they can get through, right? That's allowed to happen. And late game clutch ups are allowed to happen. I just think it's way too easy and way too common right now. I feel like it's as if, it's as if like a fucking, like if there was like an NBA game and let's say it was like a 3-point gap between the teams, but within 30 seconds to go, the officials are just like, nah, bro, threes are worth 6 now. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what it feels like. That's kind of what it feels like. It's not a perfect analogy, but that's kind of what it feels like right now. And it just feels kind of bullshit. And I feel like if the two teams that deserve to go on to the next round go on to the next round more often, I think that the game will be more enjoyable. And I think that you'll have more competitive matches. And I think that that'll just be more fun overall. And I think you'll get a better idea of where people actually belong in the ranked ladder, which is good because it's a ranked fucking ladder. Like the teams that should be up there should be up there. So I think that that's better. Let me know what you think. and I'll see you in the next one.